Hello. I want to talk to you about an article about Opus Dei which appeared in the Times 2 days ago on the 6th of September 2023, which was very inaccurate. Let me show it to you. The article was entitled Opus Dei members furious as Pope Francis seizes control of the shrine. Bishop's appointment leaves powerful Catholic group feeling slighted. The title itself is totally inaccurate, and as is the content. And in fact, we wrote a letter to the Times, for those of you who've read the article, and I would like to show you the letter we wrote, which unfortunately the Times hasn't been able to publish, at least so far, so that it can be the beginning of this short presentation. Sir, I was most surprised by your article, Opus Dei members furious as Pope Francis seizes control of the shrine, since Pope Francis has not seized control of the shrine of Torre Ciudad, and Opus Dei members are not furious. Torre Ciudad is a place of pilgrimage dedicated to the Virgin Mary in the Lower Pyrenees, visited annually by 200,000 people of all faiths and none. It forms part of the Marian route, which includes Lourdes, the site of the apparitions of Mary in southern France, the Benedictine monastery of Montserrat near Barcelona, and El Pilar in Zaragoza, one of the oldest churches dedicated to Mary in the whole world. Apart from pilgrim contributions, a recent endowment allows Torre Ciudad to cover its annual deficit and to keep receiving the many visitors who find solace and contemplation there. For the last 2 years, there's been a negotiation to change the status of Torre Ciudad to be a diocesan shrine. This process is not without difficulty and is not yet complete. Discussions continue in a calm manner between the bishop and Opus Dei. As part of the Catholic Church, Opus Dei follows Pope Francis and his teachings, as even a cursory view of the website opusdei.org will show. The recent motu proprio from the Pope deals with some matters of canon law, but does not change the status of the organization or its members. It carries an mission to help ordinary Catholics to find God in their work and family life, has been specifically praised by the Pope. This answers some of the questions that appear in the article, but I'd now like to go through the article and show you what it says and how it's inaccurate. It starts by saying, a basilica shrine surrounded by picturesque hills of Aragon in Spain has become the latest battlefield in a power struggle involving the Pope and Opus Dei, one of the Roman Catholic Church's most powerful groups. And then the first paragraph, has 5 mistakes. This first paragraph explaining the story. Francis, who was the first member of the Society of Jesus to be named as Pope, has taken up the cudgels for the Jesuits in their confrontation with Opus Dei. This sentence implies there is a confrontation between Opus Dei and the Jesuits, which is just not the case. Historically, there was trouble in the 1940s, 70 years ago, but that's over now. It has been over for a long time. Second sentence, reducing its autonomy within the Church and scrapping its privileged status. Well, the autonomy of Opus Dei within the Church is not such. It's always been subject to the Pope, to the local bishop in its diocese, and to the authorities and the hierarchy, and that has not changed. And Opus Dei doesn't have a privileged status and doesn't want it. So this sentence is very, very misleading. But by removing Opus Dei control over its grandiose basilica headquarters near Barbastro, he has instanced the group's members. Well, the Pope has not removed Opus Dei control over anything. The Torre Ciudad is not a grandiose basilica headquarters because the headquarters of Opus Dei are in Rome, and the members of Opus Dei are not incensed. So in that particular paragraph, everything in it is wrong. Then some fact: the Marian shrine of Torre Ciudad was developed into a basilica in 1975 by José María Escrivá, the founder of Opus Dei. The group was shocked when Ángel Pérez, Bishop of Barbastro Monzón, fired Ángel Las Heras as the shrine's rector, replacing him with a non-Opus Dei parish priest, José Mayral. Well, that's actually an exaggeration. He didn't fire Ángel Las Heras. He nominated a priest as rector, which is a decision which is in abeyance at the moment, because Opus Dei is disputing this decision, and so there is a conversation, and nothing has changed. There was a letter from the bishop on the 1st of September saying we're still talking, so nothing will change for the time being. We're all asking what we have done to deserve this. A senior Opus Dei member said, well, I can't believe any senior Opus Dei member said this. This is just very unbelievable. I don't know where the journalist has taken this quote from. The group is particularly angry that the shrine has been placed in the office of a humble parish priest from an unimportant bishopric. Well, this is so insulting, it's beyond parody. Justifying his decision, the bishop said that 2 years ago, the two parties began a process to adapt the sanctuary's legal regime to current needs, but that Opus Dei had not fully collaborated with his demands. The group retorted that the shrine belonged to them, both in terms of property and as an oratory. It added that it had tried to come to an agreement about the shrine's future, but that the process had not been exempt from difficulties of understanding and interpretation on the part of the diocese. Yes, there has been a process that has been going on for the last 2 years, which was started by Opus Dei to make Torre Ciudad into a diocesan shrine, where the diocesan bishop has some control over things there, as well as Opus Dei. And this negotiation, which is not without difficulty, as it says there, is still ongoing. And the bishop says, well, let's continue that negotiation and discussions calmly, without outside interference. So the impression given here of outright hostility is just not right, just not correct. Las Heras, this is now another mistake, had been due to take office on Friday, but instead negotiations between the two sides continues. And I suppose he means the priest. Las Heras is the current rector. So again, it's a bit lazy to have not checked this point here. The sanctuary has enormous religious and economic importance for Opus Dei. It has received more than 10 million pilgrims since it was inaugurated, and last year had an income of more than 1.2 million. Well, this is very misleading. If you go to the website torreciudad.org, where all the numbers are given, one sees that, yes, there is 200,000 pilgrims per year, as I said in my letter, and they do give donations, and they are from all faiths and none, and that's very necessary, all the money they give. But that only adds up to about 200 or 300,000 income in euros, whereas the cost of the shrine is 1.2 million per year. So there's about 1 million deficit each year, 1 million euros, which until now, they've had to get donations every year to cover it. Now, thanks to the generosity of many people, an endowment has been put together to cover some of the losses each year. So whereas here it would seem to imply that this has huge economic importance for Opus Dei, the reality is that it's a drain on resources of the members and friends who put up €1 million a year to keep the shrine going, so that many people can go and pray there and go on pilgrimage. And now we have the section on what the Pope has been doing recently about Opus Dei, with a motu proprio in 2022 and a motu proprio in 2023. So 2 documents that is published. Well, the first one is about Opus Dei. The second one is really about prelatures, but since Opus Dei is the only prelature, it seemed to also relate to Opus Dei. So let's see what it says here, and then I'll tell you what really happened, because this is really misleading. Last month, the Pope promulgated a motu proprio reducing Opus Dei's special status and weakening its relationship with its followers. Its lay wing, for example, will now be associates and no longer full members, and will be assigned a parish priest based on the address where they live. This is so confused. Critics claim, so this is what it says about the motu proprio. Let me tell you now directly what actually happened with the motu proprio, which I have to go back to 1982, when Opus Dei became a personal prelature. Before that, it had been a secular institute, but the secular institute was not an adequate juridical status for Opus Dei, because it involved a consecration, like the consecrated religious who take vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience, and are restricted in terms of the jobs they can do. Opus Dei members are mostly lay people, men and women, who have ordinary jobs. They can go into commerce and banking and politics and everything, all the jobs that any Catholic can do. And they can get married. Most of them are married. So Opus Dei was seeking a different type of approval that included both two things, really. One is secularity. Opus Dei members are lay people, and they do not take vows. They're not consecrated religious. And number two is unity. The different types of members would like to be in the same organization with the same vocation to total dedication. And that includes men and women, celibate people and married people, and lay people and priests. All these categories of people to be in Opus Dei, in Opus Dei, in the organization, as full members with full dedication. And there is no organization in the Catholic Church that allows for this very simple thing. So that when the prelature was thought about in the 1960s, the founder thought, well, this could be great for us because it may allow all kinds of members and retain its secularity. And so work was done to use this figure of personal prelature, which is not a privilege, which Opus Dei does not want to seek any privileges, but just a juridical status that reflects what it is, which is what I just said. And so it applies for this. And eventually, John Paul II signed a declaration that Opus Dei was a personal prelature, and that it, and thus securing its secularity and its unity, so that all members could form part of it with the same vocation. However, there is a problem, and this has created a tension from the beginning, really, from 1982, now for 40 years. And that is the following, that in the original establishment of prelatures, which was thought up by the Second Vatican Council in the 1960s, they had thought that prelatures would be organizations for priests. And this was collected, this definition was set down in the Code of Canon Law, which was published in 1983, promulgated in 1983, a few months after Opus Dei was made into a personal prelature. And in that document, John Paul II again signed a piece of paper saying that prelatures were for the distribution of priests. So in the end, he signed two documents which are not really compatible. One saying Opus Dei is a personal prelature, and it includes all sorts of members, lay people and priests, men and women, single and married. And another paper said personal prelatures are for the distribution of priests. This tension has continued through the years, and two sides have developed. One side that believes that the law should follow life, and that includes many people from Opus Dei who think, life exists, Opus Dei works as a personal prelature, the law should follow the life that already exists and works very well, and so prelatures should develop into what Opus Dei is, among other things, because many other prelatures could also have their own spirit and their own characteristics. That's one side. And the other tendency is to say that life should follow the law, and if the law says these are an organization for priests, then they should be for priests. Now, it seems that this tension, which has not been resolved for these 40 years, now the holder of the second view, who is a Jesuit called Father Ghirlanda, who's now been made a cardinal, he's very close to the Pope, and he has convinced the Pope that this is what prelature should be. Life should follow the law rather than law follow life, as many Opus Dei members and canon lawyers say. And so the decree of 2022 said that now Opus Dei would report to the Congregation for Priests, and the decree of 2023 that personal prelatures would ordain priests and incardinate them in the same way as associations of clerics, and that lay people would be subject to the bishop and parish priest like all other Catholics. Well, this second point is what has been the case in Opus Dei all along. That's not at issue. That point of the ponte proprio hasn't changed anything. The thing at issue now is whether lay people can be members of a prelature. And I suppose this discussion is going on. If in the end, it turns out that the church decides that lay people cannot form part of a prelature, then Opus Dei cannot be a prelature, and it'll have to find something else. We're still a new organization in the church. We are finding our feet. When Saint Josemaria went to the Vatican to seek approval in the 1940s, he was told, "You have got here 100 years too soon," and maybe it's still too soon for us to have an organization that will be fully approved with men and women, single and celibate members and married members, and lay people and priests, all having the same vocation and all in the same organization, because this does not exist yet in the Catholic Church unless the prelature is allowed to be that. So we continue seeking, but as you can see, it's not a matter of power or having more power or less power, being divested of power or being told off. It's a matter of the canon law that has existed for all these years and that Opus Dei has followed, and it has been working very well for Opus Dei, but maybe this figure has to move on, and then Opus Dei has also to move on. And we will see what happens in the future. Now, just to finish this presentation, this short presentation, if we go back to the article now and see that the last 3 paragraphs, where it says critics claims Opus Dei is a secretive and conservative religious order of well-placed people who form a neo-Masonic shadow influence, etc. All that, those 3 or 4 paragraphs at the end is just a collection of old things from the 1970s that people used to say that have without foundation, that when Opus Dei had a lot of publicity in the early 2000s with the Da Vinci Code and the media, there was intense media scrutiny. They were all seen to be false, all those allegations and interference in politics in Spain. We were able to explain finally that Opus Dei members are free. They can, in the time of Franco, some members supported Franco and some members attacked Franco, and each one was free to do what they liked. Opus Dei didn't get involved. Or some people voted to right wing and some people voted left wing. And again, Opus Dei wasn't involved. Opus Dei was just giving them spiritual advice and support. So they're not important, these paragraphs of the article. But I just want to say that despite the fact that the Times has so many readers and it's a serious paper, it has an article just 2 days ago which had many inaccuracies. We pointed out some of them in our letter, and they were not able to publish it, and that's why I have given this short presentation so people can see it and be relaxed that really there's no problem if you actually know the facts. Thank you.